It is now time for cylinder head. So quick overview here. I have the procedure up, torque specs, torquing sequence. We have the difference between Volvo and ARP, which we'll be using. Head gasket kit, which includes everything. So we're going to start off with this guy, which is going to go there. This is going to flip over on top of it. And right now we are also going to, at this point, since this is going to get closed in and we don't have much visibility down there on timing marks, we'll talk a whole bunch about timing later, but we are going to install the crank lock tool to make sure that we are locked in at top dead center. So here's the tool. Easily enough, there is a little plug. And it comes right here. So open that up, slide this guy in. And then at that point, if you try and, turn the crank, get this suited up here, it locks. So let me show you. It only locks one way, which is fine. You know, hey, if I'm going clockwise, it's going to move, but if I'm going counterclockwise, it will find, and there it is, and you'll hear it over on around cylinder 5 hit, and you know your top dead center. And then if you look down at your marks, I'll show you those later, you'll see that those are lined up. So we're just going to leave that tool in for now, and just know, hey, we're getting close to timing, so let's keep it at top dead center. So starting off, surface has been cleaned. Surface has been cleaned and dried. Head gasket is going to go on. There is no sealant used on these, even on the box or the instructions. It's a dry install. And even Volvo says that too on here, not to use anything. Easily enough, when you look, make sure you see one that says top, you know, so that's facing the correct way. One important note, we had to go source these locally. There are 2 guide pin or guide collar sleeves. One there, one here. That one is actually right there at the moment. When it came back from machining, we didn't have those. So we have new ones. We went down to the local parts store and they had some of those. And really that's to hold the gasket in place, right? So, I mean, theoretically at this point, we're ready for it. Make sure top is up, and it only goes one way. Everything is going to line up with the flow holes that you have. And then when I flip it over, the other one will seat into there. So we're going to flip this over on there, and I guess we're just going to get to torquing, right? So, Volvo or ARP says, hey, go ahead and just use the Volvo spec or sequence on there, and easily enough, it's just kind of a circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just like a big spiral, right, all the way around. But it's going to be 3 steps. So stage 1, 20 Newton meters, which is about 15 foot-pounds. Stage 2, 60 Newton meters. 44 foot-pounds. Stage 3, 130 degrees. So Volvo bolts are torque to yield. And when we were doing the connecting rod bolts, you saw us using this tool. And that's how you would get to 130 degrees. 130 degrees is quite a bit. I remember when we did the head gasket a couple years back, it's scary getting that far up because you are waiting for that bolt to snap. It just feels like it. But we're using ARP, so their sequence is simply, hey, just do it in 3 phases and make sure you end at 105 foot-pounds, easily enough. So probably what we'll do is, 1544, and then take it up to 105. Same thing. We're going to start first by threading these just like you saw on the block and the bed pan. We're going to make sure to put those in, clean them off, and put them all in and out. Just make sure that there's no debris. and then wipe them down again, and then we will apply the fastener assembly lubrication, and then hand tight with our Allen wrench. We'll get those on. Then we'll drop the head on, and then same thing, apply the goop on the washer, both sides, and then on the nut as well, just so that we can get that going. Kind of a lot of steps, so actually we'll probably just give you some quick snippets as we go into it. Step one, we went ahead and cleaned this bolt, and what we're doing is we're just going to thread it in, hand tight, make sure that all those threads are good. Yep, perfect. I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to check for anything on the threads, any debris, any kind of gunk, anything like that, and you know, wipe anything off. And then if it's a little bit more, then, you know, like, right, pretty clean, good to go. And I'm going to do that all the way across. And then once I've done that, I will clean each bolt, and I will again put them back in and just hand tight. So with the Allen wrench, just until it stops. After applying a little bit of the fastener assembly lubricant. And you can't really mess this up because the threads on the bottom are bigger than the threads on the top, so it only goes one way. And that way is with the Allen head up. All of those thread went down, everything looked good, came out, wiped all the bolts off, got all the debris from the cardboard box. Everything is hand tight with the 6mm Allen. And then let's go ahead and just start getting this guy down, right? Over those. Gotta kind of play with it a little bit. Let's go, guys. Thread. There we are. Okay, so that dropped on, guide pin, everything is good there. I may pull that guide pin out and put them back over here, just so that it doesn't, you know, shift that around. And really it's just to hold the gasket, and once that's in, this gasket should be perfect. So I'll do that, and then I'm going to pick up this head and flip it over and put it onto there. Okay, so that dropped in just right. Almost zero gap there, so we know that just the weight of it has pretty much gotten where it needs to be. The instructions over here are to lubricate the threads and lubricate each side of the washer and then put those in. This is gonna be a little difficult, right? Because the hole is a little tough. So luckily, pretty much everywhere there's a hole, there's, you know, some passages where we can, you know, kind of try to get our finger in there and finagle and do what we have to seat that washer, and then also seat this. I didn't even look. That looks like a 14. Oh, sorry, 14. So 12 weight. So we're going to do that. We're going to lube inside threads. We'll get our finger and put a little and then wipe it in there to try to get some of the threads there as well, as it says, both sides of the washer. And then we will do hand tight on them, and here we will start the torque sequence as well. So after hand tight's done.
This T5 engine rebuild is brought to you in part by ElevateCars.com. If you own a Volvo, you've probably heard the name Elevate, but if you've never been to the website, you should definitely check it out. ElevateCars.com has plenty of performance and styling parts for your Volvo. Simply visit the website, find your particular model, and from there, you can dial into subcategories. One particular part that we're really excited to add from their catalog on this rebuild is the open deck sleeves. But even if you're just getting started, you can definitely find something within your budget to get your Volvo stepped up to the next level. Go ahead and check them out, ElevateCars.com.
What we found to work is after it's ready to go, you take a magnet and you just have one, and then like this, you can drop it down into the hole and then just stick your finger through there and hold it in place. Same thing, after we lube up the nut, we would do the same thing, in which we would put it pretty much dead center, and we were able to drop this straight down, and then we were able to get a few turns and then pull it up, and then we would stick the 14 mil down there and just go hand tight. So it's a slow and tedious process, but so has been this entire thing. So that's kind of the best process. Lube everything up, and we were able to put a little bit on our fingers. And for example, for this one here, we would just stick our finger down, and we were able, you can see, to rub some on the threads there. So we'll see you in a bit after we get all these suited up and ready for torque sequence. It took about 30 minutes to get all those fished in, but we are ready now. Everything is hand tight, everything was lubed up. And again, the Volvo specs in tightening sequence, we're just gonna do the swirl around. And then if it was Volvo, 20 Newton meters, 60 Newton meters, 130 degrees. But since we're doing ARP and they're not stretch bolts, we're going to go 25, 50, and end at 105. So we're gonna do 3 rounds of torque there. And then I guess we'll just let you know when it's done. Okay, that is done. That was a workout. 105 is quite a bit. I had to brace the stand, and the thing was moving and grooving. So we got it. What we're gonna attack next? I don't know. There's not much left on the table. Maybe pull those tappets out, clean them one by one, get any debris out of there, and maybe just start laying stuff in and seeing how it looks. Every tappet was pulled. They were already numbered to keep them in order. The next thing, so they were pulled out, they were wiped down of any dust that they had, and then I did a little pre-oil with our Lucas Break-In Zinc Plus. Just kind of, get a good coat on there. I'm going to go ahead and do a final wipe down across here. And then we're going to start looking at putting some of these gaskets in. Same as always, I'll put a little bit of oil, kind of rub it around just so that they're not going in dry. And I'll show you what gaskets go in and where they go. Okay, so we were actually only able to load up 7 gaskets. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The little black guys around the spark plug housing where that's going to meet up. And then these 2 here, which are for the VVT. If you have a 2.4i, I don't think that, I think you just have 1 on there. And then what's left over, let's take a look and see. We have 2 more VVTs, and that's because, or same gasket, but that's gonna notch in there. VVT cam position sensors, right? So 2 more go in there. And then we have 5 of those big orange guys. Those are the intake manifold, or the plenum as they call it, where it's going to meet up with the lower intake manifold. Then they gave us 1 big green one, which meets up from the throttle body to the intake manifold as well. A couple of crush washers. Those are going to be for the turbo oil feeds, but because we got new hoses and upgraded elevate lines and all that, we have new crush washers already installed. So this is what we know we're going to use. Obviously, the 2 back caps, which are going to go here and seal the back of that. And for some reason, they sent us 2 different cam gear seals, right? So that's those guys right there, which will notch in here. The black ones are a little bit smaller diameter, and these orange ones appear to be the ones that we will use. We can take a close look because it has the part numbers on them. And obviously, one's smaller than the other. So my thought is maybe this whole kit, and it doesn't tell you what the heck's in there. Unless it's a Volvo part number, then you can look that up. But these guys are just in a bag. My guess is maybe the 2.4i, same kit, maybe smaller diameter on that, or just something. You know, a lot of these aren't used. I still have no idea what those extra guys are for. I don't see anywhere where they would go, which is not uncommon, because I know the last time that we did the head gasket, we had a whole bunch of extra stuff after the fact. So we're just making sure and checking everything as we build it up. But essentially those gaskets are done. So what we're going to do is we're going to wipe down the cam gears, and then we will go ahead and put a little bit of oil on them. And we are going to install those new guys. We're actually going to be pulling the cam gears off, but to do some painting. But while it's off, this is really easy. You can just slide them out. But we'll also show you the procedure when we pull the cam gears off, you know, if there's access to do it there. But yeah, we're just gonna pull these off, clean these up, set them down. Again, intake and exhaust are marked, and we've already kind of pre-oiled, dropped a whole bunch on there on the top, again, just so that when we mate that and start crunching everything down, that we're good to go. Here is where we're at. We have both brand new seals on there after cleaning these, and then just drizzle a whole bunch of oil on them, just get them kind of juiced up, and then we'll do that again right before we set this on. We came over here and we set timing, because what we're going to do, and if you've seen the notches, they're extremely small, so we've grinded those out so you can actually see them. This one we have not. Let me get a flashlight. We marked it marked it with red Sharpie, because we need to get another Dremel little cutting guy, but it's so dang small, right? I mean, you can see it's just a teensy mark. And so we've set both of those almost to about 12 o'clock, right where they would be. We know the bottom is dialed in and locked in position. But what we're going to do is, obviously, we're going to do a whole section on the timing and show you everything there. But the next step is going to be pull these out, get them out of the way, and go ahead and get our anaerobic sealer on this whole thing. And then we're going to put that on, and then we are going to use our timing cover clamping tool, which is going to evenly disperse the pressure and push that down, so that we can get our 46 M7 by 35s all on there. There's no torque sequence on that, but as we saw in beta way back, it's if it doesn't say it, then we'll just start from the inside and work out. And this process takes a very long time, 46 of those. And we're going to have to figure out how we're going to be careful and not kind of eat into the paint, if we're going to dab just a little bit of oil underneath the flange or what. I don't think the torque is too high. I think it was like maybe 12, 15 pounds. So that's not going to be too bad, but we don't want to start tearing up this paint. We got a lot of clear on it, so hopefully that should, you know, mitigate that. But yeah, so we'll pick up on that tomorrow, which is essentially pull these out of the way, and then just do another final cleaning on the surface there. And then at that point, get our Volvo anaerobic sealer all on there, and then get that cover on, clamp it down, and torque everything of those 46. And when we do that tomorrow, you will get to see some of the new Elevate hardware, titanium 12-point hardware that is used for this, which is going to include the 46 timing cover bolts, bolts for the oil filler, hardware that holds down the VVT. Pretty much everything on here. Elevate has a brand new kit that came out in perfect timing for us. So we'll pick back up on that tomorrow, but for you, that'll just be about 3 seconds from now. Don't know quite where we left off last night. I think the cam gears were on and oiled. We pulled them off just so that we can apply our Volvo anaerobic sealer. For this one, I actually am going to use the paintbrush or the paint roller style method. For the oil pan, where it's just a single bead that goes around the outside, not a big deal. But considering this entire surface has to be covered, I do see the value in it. I did not do the Volvo special tool. I just got a regular paintbrush roller that we had. And rather than using, we had done this mistake with our head gasket years and years ago, rather than using a just any regular painting brush, because as we rolled it, all of our sealer got sucked up into the brush and we barely had enough to squeeze out and, you know, make it seal. And, you know, these things are like 50 bucks a tube. So what I did is I wrapped it in just like saran wrap press and seal. That way it's going to roll it and evenly distribute it, but it is not going to soak up any of the product, to make sure that everything or as much of it stays on here as possible. So we're going to give it a final wipe down, because you can see in certain areas moving the cam gears around, we got a little bit of oil on there. We're going to leave those 7 gaskets in there. We could pull them out, you know, but either way, they're going to get juiced up. So, well, maybe we'll pull, we'll pull them out. We'll roll it on just so you can see that. We will drop those back in, and then we will drop this guy on. And then we've already kind of tested out. This is the cam locking tool, but you can buy one for a little bit more that has these guys where they will actually screw into 1 and 5 and clamp the whole thing down so that you can evenly get torque, and that way everything is completely almost pretty much sealed on there. And then you just go through and tighten everything. That is not necessary. When we did the head gasket, we did it without it, and we just started, as Volvo says, start from the inside, work out on those, make sure that they're torqued, and that was enough to press it down, you know, as well. But this tool does it all at once and just kind of clamps it down. And it should be noted that once the cam gears, or once the cover, timing cover is on, you can still turn the cam gears. But when we do set them back in, we are going to make sure that they're set as close to top dead center as we can eyeball it, just so they're kind of in the right position. And then as we start clamping out here, we will pop the 2 end caps in as well, boop, so that when it clamps down, they're sandwiched in there nice and tight as they should be, rather than trying to pop them in after the fact. Or actually, you know what? Cancel that. We're not going to put them in, because when we do a whole timing segment and show you everything on the timing, we want to show you some of the things that goes on there, like how to use the cam locking tool, how to look for what you're looking for inside of there, and all of that stuff. So those will go on later. So right now we'll clean this up and we will coat some sealer.
This T5 engine rebuild is brought to you in part by IPDUSA.com. IPD is Import Sauce's go-to for anything we need maintenance or repair on any of our Volvos. One reason we like them: the My Garage feature, where you can add all your Volvos and then quickly shop for particular parts for that vehicle. When you click on anything, it will give you an alert letting you know that this does fit. If there are fitment issues, you will get an alert when adding to cart, and this will let you know what exactly to check out before. This will ensure that you are getting exactly the right part for your Volvo. Second thing we love, kit builders. Here, for popular items, you can get the option to build a kit by adding on additional components that may be related. In many cases, you'll have options for genuine Volvo, or for a more budget-friendly shopping cart, you can add aftermarket. So, when you're going through, you can either select or not select certain components and make sure that you're getting exactly what you need. Lastly, customer service. Their customer service is great. They are US based here on the West Coast. Anytime we call the phone number, a real live Volvo owner and daily driver answers the phone and works with you on any product questions or help with your shopping cart. If you're getting your parts anywhere else, go ahead and check out IPDUSA.com.
Here we are with a hefty amount of sealer. Pretty much we just kind of trace everywhere where the mating surface is going to be. Make sure that we do loops around everything where you would want it to be, and then that way when we roll it out, it should have enough product in every general area to get nice coverage. So we're going to take our paint roller and go ahead and give it a little rub down. Okay, here's our end result. That stuff is super, super sticky too, right? So we can see just really good even coverage on all those flat surfaces. It's nice and thick, and there's really no areas that weren't hit, which means when this sandwiches down and has, you know, just a fraction of a millimeter, just, you know, a tenth or a thousandth, once it's mated, there will not be any seepage or spillage or anything. So we're just gonna go through and check the journals and make sure that we don't have anything on there. Kind of wipe it off. You can see a little bit in there. Wipe it off, put our O-rings back in, drop our cam gears in at TDC, and then drop the cover on. Our timing cover is on. You can see it's just kind of sitting there. Set the cam gears to TDC, just based on our marks. See that more in the timing section. And what we're gonna do now is get some old rags, because this is gonna clamp down and we do not want it clamping down on our paint job. So we'll get some rags and start torquing that down. Even though the instructions in Volvo Vita say cylinder 1 and 5, I've heard from a few other Volvo buddies who have done a lot of engine work, Volvo gurus out there, and they say go with cylinder 2 and 4. It's going to disperse the clamp a little bit better. So we're going to show you what that looks like. But essentially, this guy, you'll turn it by hand and thread that down into the spark plug hole. And then once it's there, you can go ahead and start spinning your guy, and that will bring everything together there. So we'll get some protection for our paint job and then get those suited up. Clamps tool is installed easily enough, and you can see it has sealed up all the gaps. All that pink showing is just where the head is smaller than the timing cover is smaller than the head. Once we clamp everything down, we will go ahead and wipe all that off, just so we don't have some pink stuff there. We'll work quickly because it is kind of like glue, or maybe after it dries, we can razor blade it or something. But yeah, so that thing just clamps everything down. Now we're gonna go ahead and get our 46 M7 35 millimeters. And this is gonna be the brand new Elevate titanium 12-point set that we're featuring here. Just came up on their website, available for purchase. This is the kit that is sold, or that you should purchase if you are not using a timing cover, the plastic cover, which is going to leave all 46 bolts exposed, plus a few other cool ones that we'll see that's in that Elevate bundle. So here is the Elevate titanium M7 by 35, the spec that goes over the entire timing cover. Let me show you here on Vita, all of those. Let's see, yeah, right. So if you're looking at the timing cover, all those little purple dots, 46 of them. And here they are, brand new titanium, 12-point, exactly to Volvo spec, minus the fact that they are stronger, they are lighter, and they look a heck of a lot better. I've been really excited to get to this step in the project so that we can actually put these guys on. So we're gonna go ahead and suit these up. Here we are. All of those 46 are on there. The new Elevate titanium 12 points, looking good. Let's see if we can get a close up. Yep. So 46 of them. One thing we did do, and we did torque everything inside out. We could see everything was juicing out, and we wiped all that away, but you can see the juice there, and I did a quick check, and it's like, yep, metal to metal, clean seam. You can't even barely see the seam there. So I'll wipe a little bit more of that excess away. But a good sign is you could see it kind of juicing out as it sandwiched down, so you know it kind of got a good mating. We went ahead and stuck the spark plugs in just as we were working. I knew it was going to happen. I didn't know how to avoid it without buying bolts that have the washers that spin on them. Is with the turning and torquing, we were going to lose some paint on our paint job. But the good thing is the base coat white primer that we used did hold. And with the paint splatter, You can't really see it, right? So if you're looking, your eyes are not drawn to it. So we got lucky there. Spark plugs went in, lots of anti-seize on there, and the torque spec for that was 21.8 pounds. We just did 22. And the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to continue on. We were kind of just doing our own thing, but we'll just finish up everything Vita says to do on the head gasket. So, or the, not the head gasket, the timing cover. So the next thing we're going to do is the oil filler cap, and there is a new rubber O-ring that came in our head kit. And just like the Elevate 12 points that we have there, the kit that is not using the cover, not using the plastic cover, in the bundle comes two M6x20s that match, and those are what's going to hold that down. And also, since we're not using the cover, there are 8 M6x15s, which are going to go and fill the holes where your plastic cover would bolt onto. So we're going to go ahead and put the new O-ring on that, clamp it down with that, 10 Newton meters, and then we will put our 8 plug holes in as well. I also forgot to mention, after we just put those 8 cap fillers in, that the kit, the bundle that you select for I do not use my timing cover, also comes with pretty much every single hole on this has a titanium 12-point replacement, with the exception of 7 or 8, and we'll talk about that later on in the construction here. But it comes with our 2 VVT bolts. It comes with our 2 cam position sensor bolts. It comes with plugs for on the 2-4 and some other variations. These holes are used for brackets and things of that nature, but it comes with things to plug that up as well. So really the only thing we do not see in here with brand new 12-point titanium from Elevate is going to be a few of the grounds, including the coil packs, right? And then we know there's a ground there. We know there's a couple in here for the wire harness mixed in with the coil pack bolts. So we'll talk about that later on. So you definitely want to stick around and keep your ears peeled on what's going on there. But yeah, so Elevate comes, and it comes with, as always, color, full color. And in this case, color coordinated instructions, and it tells you, hey, here is what goes where, and here are the different sizes that you should be putting here and there. Next, we are going to put the lower inlet manifold on. This is the Elevate lower inlet manifold. It looks like a Volvo lower inlet manifold. That's because they take, when you order yours, you'll send yours in for a core. And we have a whole video on this, but they go ahead and do a nice shiny polish out, extraction of all that material in there, and get this thing ready for performance. There are 2 gaskets that came in our head gasket kit. Easily enough, it's going to be the black one. This one is going to be for exhaust manifold, so we'll just toss that over there. The holes only line up one away, so you'll figure that out pretty quickly. And there are 6 M7 bolts, which means we are going to be at 12.5 foot-pounds of torque. As soon as I put that on, fuel rail bolts, I am just going to drop those in where they go, which are just 2. 1, 2. Because the fuel rail is still attached to the fuel system in the vehicle. But I did notice that I remember last time when I was tightening one that it was like giving me some trouble. And it looks like it's because it's bent. So I'm gonna see if I can track down. I'll just kind of thread a few in there to keep it in place, but I'm gonna put it on my notes to see if I can go down and get a replacement for that. That looks like M6 something, so we'll see. Local parts store should have something for that. So yeah, we're gonna put that gasket on, and we will put that on, and we'll torque those 6 bolts to 12.5, and you'll see it here in a bit. Now that we have the lower intake manifold on, we can suit up this breather hose that this end goes right there. It'll loop down through that hole, and then it will kind of bend over and go right there. You'll notice there is like a little notch or indentation there, and that will line up with the notch indentation here where your plastic timing cover sits. So really, all we're gonna do is just kind of fish that in like that. Make sure it's kind of in the area down there, and come down here and we can kind of push that down, and then we can see right there. Okay, and boop, a little zoom, yep, all the way flush. So you see, it goes up, follows that curve, comes up here, and we will put that on. That's all the way flush, and then we can see this kind of just wedges in there. You can kind of pull it and shape it how you need, and that guy is all set. Okay, next thing we want to do is 5 O-rings for the fuel rail. So we have those right here, and we'll go ahead and pop those guys in. Important note, directional note on these. There are 2 sides. There's a flat side, which is just a smidge bigger in diameter, and then there's a shorter size that kind of has a recess or a little elevated spot on there. The side that has the little raised hollow sleeve is going to go down like that into, because we can see there's a little lip there, kind of see it, and then the little groove on there is going to seat inside of that. So we'll just kind of clean these up, a little wipe down, and stick them in. Next up is our VVT solenoids. So they look the same, but they are different. So if you close in underneath the Volvo, you'll see the part number 312-16222. Come over here, we can see it is, it's kind of there, 312-16221. 221 is the intake side, 222 is the exhaust side. So lower number comes first, and on the engine, the intake starts the process. Air in, exhaust out. So lower number on the intake side. Same thing, side note, for the other ends of the, or on the end of the cam gear, camshafts, part numbers, if you're like, hey, which one is which? Ending in 9.7 is intake side, ending in 9.8 is exhaust side. So similar. We are going to take these. We are not using the old hardware because we have the new Elevate 12 point. So we're going to go ahead and pop those in. We have new seals for those as well, just like the seals that are already in there that will seat the bottom. Pop those on, and we will torque those down as well. We have talked about this breather hose a few times, and we've recorded a few times, and now I have to show you actually how you do it, right? So we had already put the motor mount bracket on, and earlier we said, well, we'll wait until the lower inlet manifold is on so that it has something to hook up to, or maybe we'll wait till the turbo's on so that we can plug it in here. The problem is, and maybe even before we put this cap on, I don't know, this might have to come off as well. The tube fishes and sits inside this groove behind the cam gear. So, you know, the time to put that hose on is before you put the head on, because you're wide open and it's just going to sit in here on this notch. We'll see if we can get it on with this, but it goes kind of back behind all of this as well. So if we can't fish it, we might have to pull this cover off. But so yeah, anything we said regarding that hose, ignore that, and you want to put that thing on before the head and the cam gears and any of this stuff goes on, even if it's just sitting in there waiting for everything else. So we're going to go ahead and fish that in, put our motor mount back on, and then since the lower inlet manifold is torqued down, we'll hook it up to there, and then we'll come back and talk about the last few things. Turbo's just sitting in there, 2 bolts, but we'll walk you through that and some other things. Next up is the installation of the intake plenum upper onto the lower. So we have gotten very lucky, and at the end of this build, or actually right now, our California smog check is due. So that includes a very strict visual inspection. So, you know, we have our plastic covers that we haven't ran in years that are gonna cover that up, and we have the stock intake box and turbo charge pipe, and hopefully most of this paint will be covered up, but paint and cool stuff like that is not against the smog check rules. But when they are looking, they do a visual, and if they see this and, you know, a nice Elevate intake on there and such, they're going to be suspect to maybe look a little deeper. So for now, we're going to put the stock guy back on. There's no point in putting this on, firing it up, and then the next day taking it off. It's not super difficult, but the screws or the bolts there actually come in from the bottom. So, I mean, it's not terrible, but, you know, it's definitely easier to just do it now while it's out of the car, and then it'll be fun if I pass smog, and then it's like I got new parts for Christmas, you know. It'll be like, oh, hey, there's an extra horsepower boost. So in the head gasket kit, we have 5 new of the intake plenum. As it says, 5 required. That is going to be those guys right there. So we're going to swap those out. Total of 6 M6 bolts. We already know the torque spec on M6. We've been talking about that forever. And when we go to do the Elevate, it actually includes their gasket that they send. And I also think that is available on their website just as a standalone. We're going to swap over this to this. We're not going to detail that, because assuming that you're putting your engine back together, your intake throttle body is on whichever piece that you took it off of. This is the oversized one that bolts right up. I think it's like Porsche or something. Everybody has a write-up on that. They're for sale over Sweet Speed. I do remember, I think with the Elevate, it came with separate hardware, so I'm going to have to go track down. It may be shorter, I think, but we'll see. I'll track that down on the hardware store. So essentially what we're going to do, we're going to swap these 5 in there. There's little pins, 1 and 2 guide pins, which will help you boop, boop, set that on, and it will line up perfectly. And then we will just torque down with our M6 spec there. So we'll show you what that looks like. Next up is installing the turbo manifold, turbo, onto the back of the head. We had done this about 2 weeks ago. We had to scrap all the video and kind of start fresh. And it's all due to this. Let's see if we can get it here. This turbo return line. Oil line. So, right, that goes from the bottom of the turbo and drops into the block. So, it's connected by 2 T27s. a fresh gasket, which goes up here, fresh gasket on the bottom. And so you can see the hole where it goes in there, and then where it links up on the turbo, you can kind of see that white line right there is just where the gasket is sitting. So when you're pulling, we'll kind of have it in view there, but when you're pulling the turbo off, you can't pull the whole thing up because the top of the turbo there, or the exhaust manifold, is going to hit the head. So you have to kind of back it out and then bring it out at an angle. Problem is, when you do that, this has enough of a seat that when you pull it out, it's going to kind of bend and mess up the bottom there. And we kind of, you know, saw some of that there. And we knew there was a bend in the tube. I mean, this obviously is really far gone, but that it was already bent. And we just assumed that the bend that was on it was what was there before. And as we were trying to put it in, we were trying to, you know, seat this tube while it was still installed. And we're like, oh, let's kind of slide this in and then cock it forward. But because when pulling it off, it was already bent, it wouldn't line up. We were having some issues. We couldn't figure it out. And as we were trying to finagle it is when we pinched it even more. So special order, the dealer does not have these sitting on the shelf. It didn't take long though. They got it next day, but we live an hour from the closest dealer. We didn't want to take the journey. We said, go ahead and ship it to us. All of that. So it made its way up here. So what we're going to do is we are going to seat the pipe in first. And then we are going to seat the exhaust manifold. It's on there, but just pretend it's not. And then once both of them are seated and kind of loose before we torque anything down on the exhaust mani, we will then mate up this to the turbo so that everything is kind of where it should be, and then tighten it together. Putting it on as one piece with these the tube on, I don't see that you're going to get lucky enough and not damage it. And I would even argue that if you do pull the turbo off, for some reason while it's in the car, to take a look and maybe just have one of these. Does not come with the gasket. You can order that separately. Luckily, our head gasket kit, it came with a whole pile of those. So that's what we're going to do. The other note is all of the hardware. So what we had done, and we've already done all this, is we took, same thing, a cleaning tap, and we went through all of the holes in there, and we just made sure everything was cleaned out and ready to go, and that the hardware is nice and fresh. So essentially, we've already spent a couple hours kind of doing that. So now it shouldn't take us too long to get this thing bolted up. So we'll show you what it looks like when it's done. It's going to be pretty much similar. The only difference is it'll have more than 2 bolts just kind of hanging and sitting there on it. And these are, I don't remember, I'll tell you what they are after we're done, but I think they were like 12 or 13 mil. Exhaust manifold is on, and the turbo pipe, as we planned, put it in there, kept it loose, and then got a few threads in, had a few threads in up on there, got everything dialed in, everything was good there. So the next thing we're going to move on to is all of the lines. There are 4 of them. So we have 2 coolant lines. You'll see those in the stainless steel braided. One is going here. The other one loops around to the hard pipe here. We had cut all the hoses to length from what we had taken off. The bend on here may be a little weird. We may have to loosen and bring this, you know, maybe out this way a little more so that we can do that. Or in the case of a few other things, we just go to the parts store and kind of tell them the shape, and they let us look around on the wall and pull stuff down. Elevate soft oil return line will bend down and go into right there. And then the breather from the front pipe that we talked about recently that loops all the way around to the intake mani, is going to go right here onto, better light that way, right here onto this check valve. So we'll play with those hoses. We may end up shortening or doing a few things, but essentially we're going to get that suited up, and that will pretty much kind of take care of that exhaust manifold assembly. All done. That took a little longer than we expected. It was less than 2 hours. Should have been about 10 minutes. Coolant return, fine. A lot of play on there. We just trimmed this hose down so it had a nice even flow there. The other one wasn't too bad. We just loosened up this fitting and cocked it out a little bit more just so it had a nice curve. Trim that hose and you can see a nice even curve on that. Beautiful. The breather that goes up front, same thing. Trimmed it down. It seats perfectly on there. Everything's there. No kinks. And it, you know, out of the way there. The one that we had trouble with was the elevate hose. In hindsight, we should have had it attached to the block way sooner before all of this stuff got in the way. Very difficult. We ended up taking this one off, coming down there, and doing straight pliers, and we were able to get that all suited up. So next thing is going to be doing a complete video on timing. Set our timing out here. Do our last minute check with actually some room to walk around this thing. And we went ahead and put our coil packs on. We have a separate video, but we're waiting for the brand new Elevate 12-point copper engine grounding timing cover set. And that is on. Check out that video. Also includes the engine bay grounding kit, which we just installed. So we're gonna get some tools out here and start showing you some timing.
Okay, well, timing was pretty important, so we broke it off into its own video. You can hit the link in the description below, and that will take you to that video, and you can see everything that you needed, just in an effort to try to keep this video under 60 minutes.
We're back. Got a little too cold last night, but we're at a nice 55 degrees here, so just got to button up the last few things. We're going to go ahead and put the crank pulley on. It only goes on one way because you see this extra guide slot, which will be for this guy. The 10 millimeters here are 25 Newton meters and then 60 degrees. So we'll go ahead and take care of that. And crank pulley nut, it's already on there. 30 millimeter and tight all the way. Air tool is the torque spec. We're going with that. Okay, that's all suited up. Next is a timing cover thingy. So right here we have a T27. We're gonna pull that off, and then the bottom, see here and here corner, are gonna slide into there and there. And then there's little guys on each side, which will clamp around those little notches there. There. It's all buttoned up, and we figured we might as well put the motor mount bracket to engine on first. That way when we drop it in, it's ready to go. But this guy's done. He is ready to get onto this guy and make his journey down to the car. So next videos coming up will be mating and doing flywheel, pressure plate, transmission mounting, starter install. I think those are kind of the big ones, and then we'll dust off the picker and see if we can drop the guy in.